This for our industry and for Crown and my responsibility there, but this is fairly broadly, I think, aligned across all businesses. When I was looking on the outside at what was going on within Crown and now what I see across the rest of our industry, and there is now a very complex structure of very heavy regulation, I think necessarily so, across our industry. There's a need to make sure that reaches across all aspects of our industry around issues of AML and responsible gambling. And it's very complex. And we've had to do really a monumental amount of work to really transform our company. It's unprecedented what we've had to do in the short period of time, the level of scrutiny, media, government alike, to get that done. And it's a huge success here in Sydney and down in Melbourne, getting the suitability. But as a proud Irishman, I like to keep things relatively simple. And when I look at all that complexity, what it all boils down to, don't engage with villains, don't be a villain, and treat people with care and respect. So if we just take that broad approach, and I think generally speaking for businesses, that's not a bad lesson to learn, it's not a bad focus to have. The regulation makes sure that there's levels of oversight to ensure you're living to those principles and values. So yeah, as a general recommendation, I think that's probably where I'd be.
That was very neatly dodged. Janet Menzies is Country Manager for Amazon Australia. Janet, you work for a gigantic company. I've read some of your interesting anecdotes of what it's like coming into Amazon's very established corporate culture. But here in Australia, you're a disruptor. You're causing trouble. You're apparently destroying the hardworking businesses of Coles and Woolies. What's it like making that change to disruption rather than being the big, powerful, established player?
Right. I mean, look, I think there's three things that we get to work on, which I feel really proud of. One is, of course, one of the things about Amazon Selection is a lot of it is contributed by small businesses. So this whole notion that we can digitize and build the capability of Australian businesses to then be on not only our site, but in the bigger leagues of the, as you say, the more established markets like the UK and the US. So that's a really great privilege in terms of being able to build that capability. Second thing is, of course, we've got AWS, our sister brand, who brings really interesting data products to the table. And then the final thing, of course, is building the retail brand. And, you know, when if I think about 10 years ago, when I looked at the retail experience in Australia, I think we could all agree it was a bit of you ordered something, you hope it showed up on time. And, you know, I think we've played a small role in inspiring us all to get better and also built a business that now has raised the standards for Australian consumers. And I think that what it provides evidence of is that a good way to really, for government to encourage innovation is that mix of supporting local business and also encouraging innovation to flow into the country that can then support local capability. And so, you know, for me, that's really what it's all about, is making sure we work backwards from the customer. We say, what is the e-commerce experience and the retail experience that Australian customers deserve, and then how do we deliver it? And these things do make a big difference, right? If you you know, I'd always had a sense that we were inspiring innovation, that other retailers were stepping up to the plate. But we commissioned some research last year by Mandela Partners. And what was really interesting is the real world consequence of that increased competition that we've brought. You know, when you look at dollars that have gone back into Australians' pockets because they had the ability to search online, to purchase from online platforms, it's like more than $3,000, right? If you look at, we talk about cost of living pressures, when people are doing it so tough, there's the evidence of the research talked about how the cost efficiency effect and the competition effect together meant that inflation, that at its peak in 2022, was 0.7% lower than it, or you know, it would have been 0.7% higher if it had not been for retail competition. So, you know, when I think about the mission that we have and the opportunity to get involved and to raise the bar for retail, I feel really grateful for the time we're in and the progress we're making on behalf of customers.